If you have been completely ghosted by somebody, they did you a favor. That's not the kind of person that you want to be in a relationship with. I'm Donna Barnes. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. Ghosting is so common and just the most frustrating thing when you really connected with somebody because, first of all, it just shows a complete lack of respect for you, right? And I think that's largely why people are so frustrated by it. And we all want answers. We all want to control things. We all want to know why something happened. And when someone ghosts you, you don't get that opportunity, which I think is the biggest reason why it's so hard to get past. Ghosting is really, in today's world, horrendous. I mean, how hard is it to simply at least send a text that says, hey, I'm sorry, this just isn't working for me. I wish you all the best. Communication is the foundation of a great relationship. So if someone doesn't have enough respect or courage or whatever the heck you want to call it, do you want somebody who is so careless about your feelings, who just doesn't even think enough of you to give you a real answer? You really do not want somebody who will ghost you. And depending on how long you were together, I think commonly, if you've had a good date with somebody or a couple of good dates with somebody, that's when ghosting usually happens because they're not as invested, right? Let's face it. You've had a couple of dates, you connected, you thought it was amazing. They may or may not be still interested in you. And depending on how you met, I mean, the whole thing about apps is that there's so many people available to you. And a lot of people get a little bit addicted to the idea of shopping on an app and looking for people. Because honestly, years ago, I met a girl that I was working with back when I used to model, and it was a couple of days shoot. And on the first day, she told me about her boyfriend that she'd been with for 9 months, and they'd met on Match.com. And I was currently on Match.com. And that was, we started to get to know each other a little bit. She said to me, oh, you're on Match.com. Oh, here's this username. You should check him out. And if you've ever been on Match.com, they have a who's viewed me page where you can look and see who's looked at your profile. So yeah, long story short, I looked at his profile and then he winked at me. And I really was struggling with it. I thought, wow, what do I do? And I went back to work the next day. And that very nice girl, I was getting to know her, but we weren't deep friends. I was just getting to know her. She brought it up to me. She said, hey, did you check out, my guy's profile? And I said, yeah, I did. And honestly, I'm kind of a little bit struggling with telling you something. And she said, he winked at you, didn't he? And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, we've talked about that. He just really likes the idea of interacting with people and looking to see what's out there. It just kind of probably strokes his ego, right? And he just is something that he enjoys doing. And, I just met her and she wasn't asking for my advice. But as a dating coach, I thought to myself, you've been together for 9 months and he's still on a dating app? I really wasn't encouraged about that relationship. But the reason I'm talking about it is because they ended up getting married. They moved to Massachusetts together. This was from New York. And they have a beautiful family now and they've been together. I mean, this is probably a decade ago. So my point is that allure of interacting with people on a dating app is just a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, my best friend's been married to a wonderful man for more than 20 years. But when I'm on an app, sometimes when I'm at her house, she's always like, oh, can we look? Can we see who's like, it's fun, right? And actually, a guy that I met on Tinder years ago said to me, I'm not even sure that I actually swiped on you. Right? He was in the medical field. He said all the nurses used to love to grab his phone and swipe through it and stuff like that. So he said, obviously I'm the one that reached out to you, but I'm not sure I'm the one that swiped on you in the first place. The whole complication of being on an app is it's a little bit like being a kid in a candy store. Once you have a candy, if it was good, you want another one and you want another one. And then you want to try something different. You don't know which one to choose, right? And I think it's exactly the same thing with dating apps. So if you meet somebody on an app, don't assume that you're off and running in a relationship. Assume that they're dating other people. Don't ask, don't tell is exceptionally relevant when it comes to dating. Because if you're in the early stages of dating, and especially if you met them on an app, you really need to assume that they're dating other people, and you need to keep dating other people too, because people ghost all the time. Ghosting is just so common because it's like being a kid in a candy store. You have so many options to choose from. Years ago, I met a guy on Match.com And he was actually down in DC and I was in New York. And we had this really fabulous phone conversation. And he said, well, I'm coming back to New York next weekend. I'm free both Friday and Saturday. Are you free Friday or Saturday? And I said, yeah. And I picked Friday. And thankfully, I picked Friday because he and I really connected on, like, he was one of those people that I said, wow, like, yeah, I don't need another drink, but I'm not ready to say goodnight to you. In fact, he was the first one that I said that to. We really connected. And in lieu of having another drink, we actually went back to his building and sat on his roof and sat and talked until the sun came up. I mean, we really connected. So at some point, he said to me, can I push my luck? Can I see you tomorrow night too? And then, yes, oh my God, he became one of the greatest loves of my life. But at some point, he said to me, and this was my whole point, he had a second date planned with a girl that he'd already had a first date with that he'd also met on the app for Saturday night then. So because he was talking to me, he gave me first choice, but because I picked Friday, he then scheduled with her for Saturday, which is very common on dating apps. But he really connected with me. So he ended up canceling the date for Saturday night. And honestly, as a dating coach, I would have loved to have been able to call that girl and said, hey, can I just tell you that it wasn't anything that you did wrong? It's just that he met somebody else that he connected with more. And I think that's exceptionally relevant when someone ghosts you because no one wants to tell you, hey, I think you're really great. I just met somebody I like a whole lot better. But unfortunately, that's what usually happens. If it was the beginning of dating and you had a couple of good dates or just even one fabulous date and you really thought you connected and you really thought you were going to see each other again, and then you didn't, it's probably because of somebody else. And that shouldn't make you feel bad about yourself. I mean, look, not everybody's right for us, right? We can be crazy attracted to somebody who's not right for us in any way whatsoever. That's a little bit why relationships only last 3 to 6 months, right? Which I talk about all the time, but it's really about finding that chemistry, but then also having that commonality of lifestyle and really being the same kind of people and fitting into each other's lifestyles. I mean, depending on where you are in your life, largely too, if you have kids, it's about your kids' parenting schedule fitting with your person's parenting schedule. Because if you have opposite weekends, that's a real problem, right? And sometimes you don't have the luxury of just asking your ex of like, hey, can we switch weekends, right? A lot of those divorce agreements are very toxic. My point is really connecting with somebody is, I think, the holy grail. And honestly, I need that if I'm going to maintain a relationship. But it has to also be a commonality of a lot of different things, of lifestyle and things. And it's nice if you like to do the same things. But honestly, two of the greatest loves of my life were not sports fans, which is just insane because people who know me in my life, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm very knowledgeable about sports. If I turned on my TV right now, it's on ESPN, right? So it's like, it's crazy to me that some of the greater loves of my life aren't sports fans. But that's exactly my point, that it's not about little things that we are the same people on. It's about how do we think? What are our ethics? What are our values? Where are we in life? And really, just do we have a great affinity for each other? That's what's most important. Because I do think that it's also helpful to have a little bit of independence within a relationship. That if there's something that you really like to do and your partner really doesn't like to do that with your friends. It's an opportunity to keep that relationships going with your friends. And I think that's fine. And to that point, a lot of my friends from high school that we get together at games all the time, their wives don't come because they're not sports fans and they have great marriages and have been together for a long time, but their wives don't really want to come, right? So it really doesn't have to be that you have commonality of everything. It just needs to work on the big things that you need commonality of, really in your beliefs and your lifestyle. Some of the things you should like to do together and how you live your day to day is very important in connecting a relationship. So yeah, if someone ghosted you, it's not about you. It's really not. To a certain extent, you should be thankful because they saved you a lot of heartache in wasting time getting to know that person better if they really weren't the right person for you. And that's what it's really all about. When someone ghosts you, it's because something wasn't right for them and they just didn't have the communication skills to communicate that with you. And you don't want that kind of person, right? I mean, you want somebody who's conscientious and respectful at the very least, and communicative is essential to creating a good relationship. So if someone ghosted you, they did you a favor because you don't want that person. You're looking for a true loving relationship, and someone who's capable of ghosting is not capable of that kind of relationship for you. The way to get over ghosting is to rarely recognize that this wasn't your person. You can't feel rejected by somebody that you don't want. And that is the whole key to getting over somebody. Most of us have abandonment issues on some level. And when someone's left us, it strokes that abandonment issue and it makes us really, we always want what we can't have, right? And I think there's a lot of truth in that especially when someone's ghosted you, that you can't control it and you want to control it. You need control. You need to know what's going on. That's really the basis. It's not as much as about that person. Yeah, I get it. I so get it. When you meet somebody that you think could really have great potential and you have chemistry with, and then they ghost you, it's disappointing at best, right? It's really hard to meet somebody that you have that kind of connection with. When they bail out, it's really frustrating and you can't control it. And that's exactly why I think it's so frustrating. But you can't feel rejected by somebody that you don't want. If you can really intellectualize that you don't want somebody who can't communicate with you, who can't simply be respectful enough to send a text that says, "Hey, I'm sorry, this isn't working for me. I wish you all the best," right? I mean, that's really the essence of it. You want somebody who is capable. Capable is such a big word. You need somebody who is capable of being emotionally available, creating emotional intimacy, having great communication, expressing their needs, wants, expectations. All of that is essential in creating a healthy relationship. If you're not getting that from someone who's ghosted you, then you don't want them. And you can't feel rejected by somebody that you don't want. So like my video and subscribe if you already haven't. And I'm here for coaching, honestly, especially if you're really struggling to get over somebody. Breakups are my specialty. I'd be more than happy to listen to your story and give you real insight into exactly what happened in your specific case. The link is in the descriptions to sign up for coaching. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in my next episode.